Well, hi there. I'm going to show you how to do my drifter hat, and it's an easy 4-row pattern. And here's what it looks like. It's a nice stitch. It's good for anything from blankets to hats to cowls to scarves. You can make fingerless gloves, whatever you like with it, really. Leggings. So it's good for just about anything, and you can use thick yarn on a thinner gauge and make it chunky, or you can make it thinner if that's what you like for a shawl. Anyway, it's actually a very easy stitch. It's beginner friendly, even though it's a 4-row stitch. So the loom I'm using is a Cindy Wood loom. This one is a 3/4 inch, 34 pegs, so it's roughly equivalent, if you're doing the round circle plastic sets, to the second one in, that is 36 pegs. I got this one a little bit smaller. It's more of a teen size. Okay, and the yarn I'm using is a yarn that I spun myself. It's a part of my mosaic set. I really wanted to get something that looked like the mosaic yarn, so this is the kind of thing I'm getting. And the yarn that's on the brim was a Noro yarn. I used 2 strands of it. It's Noro Cedo, and it's the one that's the navy blue color. Okay. And then other than that, I think that's all I can tell you. Oh yes, except for the loom hook. This is a loom hook from We Have a Handle on This. They're no longer making them, but there's similar ones on Etsy. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to take you over to how to cast on and do an owl eye brim. I did do my type of thing on the outside, but you can't really see it on this anyway. But we can just do a normal owl eye brim, and if you want to do the kind of beginning that I have here, it's on some of my other videos, and it will be coming out alone. But we'll just we'll do the cast on the owl eye brim, and then we'll come back and I will show you how to do the stitch. So I will see you in a bit. So I'm going to start by doing a chain cast on. It's a crochet chain cast on. I'm going to do it without a crochet hook. So what I do, I just take it, make a loop just like that, and then put the working yarn through it and have a slip knot, and then I just place that on the first peg. And then I take my loom hook, put it under the loop, and pull the working yarn through to get a loop. And then I tighten it by pulling on the working yarn here in the back and make sure that this stitch is tight. And then I just take that loop, put it behind the next peg, holding on to it, and pull the working yarn through it. And that's all there is to the cast on. Put the loop behind, working yarn through, tighten it up, behind, working yarn through, tighten it up. And at any time, if you want this loop to be smaller, you just pull on it. So working yarn behind and tightening it up. I mean the loop behind and tightening it up. And that's all there is to it. And we just do that all the way around the loop. So I'm just going to put you on pause because it'd be boring watching me do it all the way around the loom. And we will catch up when I'm close to the other side. Okay, so here I am almost at the end. So I take the the loop, put it behind the peg, tighten it up, and then here's the one we started at. And so you just take the loop and let it fall over there. And I just take the loom hook and knit it over, and now it's all secured and you're ready to go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do now is finish the cast on. So I'm going to do a row of owl eye. And so I just do a U-wrap over peg 1, come over, and then I do a wrap over peg 1 and 2, and just knit it over, and knit it over. Whatever peg you're on, peg 1, you go over peg 1 and 2, knit it over. I have lots of videos of owl eye on my channel, so you can go watch those if you'd like to see more of a demonstration of it. And then just around and knit it over. And peg 1 over peg 1 and 2, knit it over. And we just do owl eye all the way around. Okay, so I will meet you back up at the beginning peg again. Okay, so I've done my row of owl eye all the way around the loom, and now I'm going to do one row of purl, and it'll be the only purl in the whole hat. And I just want to do it here at the beginning of the brim to make sure that the edge stays nice and straight. So how you purl is you put the working yarn into the loop. There we go. And then pull up the working yarn, take the loop off, and let the loop fall to the front. So take the hook, put it in the loop, pull up the working yarn, and you pull up the whole loop and put the new loop on. Under, pick up the working yarn, put it on the peg, and tighten it up. And there's lots and lots of videos on YouTube if you haven't purled before. So we just do one row of purl. So I will meet you up when we get back to the starter peg again. Okay, so I've done my row of purl, and now I'm just going to do owl eye, and our brim is going to be owl eye stitch. So how we start that, there's our peg 1. We always come over and do a U-wrap on peg 1, and now we can go and do a second wrap over peg 1 and one over peg 2. And wherever we are, we're on peg 1, so we wrap 1 and 2, and we just keep going like that. And you can make your brim however long you like it. You could make just a 1-inch brim if you like thin brims. I'm going to do about 1.5 inches. If you like a really long brim, you can do one that's 2 inches long. So I'm just going to keep working in owl eye till I get the brim the length that I want it, and then we can catch up. Okay, so we'll see you in a few. Okay, your brim is done. So the first stitch you're going to do is owl eye, and how you start that out is you go over peg 1, knit it off, and then you come back around the peg 1 the second time and go over peg 2 nice and loose and knit it off. And that's how you get started. And you know how to do owl eye because you did it in the brim. So you're just going to do 2 rows of owl eye. And then I'll meet you here at the end after you've done your 2 rows. And when you come to the end of this stitch, you want to wrap it twice, just like you saw me do on this peg, because every peg needs to get 2 stitches. So you're going to wrap that twice at the end of 2 rows, and then we'll be ready for row 3. So just keep doing owl eye for 2 rows, and then we will meet you back up, and I'll show you row 3. Okay, I'm about to do the last stitch in the row, so I go over it, right, like this and do these two. And then I'm just going to come over it again, but I'm not going to go over that one because that's going to be a different stitch. Okay, so I'm just checking. Yep. So now we do 2 rows of twisty stitch. So if you've never done my twisty stitch, so it's 2 rows of owlie, 2 rows of twisty, and then you do 2 rows of owlie again, 4 easy rows. So for twisty, you go over it in a U-wrap, knit it off, come back over the same peg the opposite way, nice and loose. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to knit it off. It's going to get too tight. So knit it, come back over in a U-wrap, knit it to the front, come back over the opposite way to the front, from behind, come over and go in the front of the next one. Whoop, but keep the yarn on the peg. Then come back over from the back, come back up to the peg, knit it, come back over the opposite way, knit it, come over the next one from the back of the peg to the front of the next peg in a U-wrap, knit it, come back over and knit it. And you just keep doing that all the way around the loom until you do 2 rows. So after you've done your 2 rows, I will meet you up at the peg over there. Okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so here on the last peg, so now we're going to start all over again, doing 2 rows of owlie, 2 rows of twisty, until you get long enough for you. And then just do a couple rows of E-wrap. And then you do the bind off. So I will take you to the bind off because I don't have to do very much to get there either. And then we will catch up and look at the finished piece. So we will see you then and have fun. And now we can go ahead and bind it off. And I'm just going to do a slightly decreased bind off so I don't get a lot of bulk. And it's pretty easy to do. So all we're going to do first is do a row of E-wrap. And it doesn't matter which stitch you ended with, whether you ended with the Jupiter stitch or the U-wrap. It'll work fine either way. So we're just going to E-wrap nice and loose all the way around the loom. And the reason you want to keep it loose is you're going to have to move some stitches, and you want to them to be fairly loose to move. I just kind of gently push it to make sure I'm keeping it nice and loose. Okay, and then you're just going to knit the last one to secure it. Knit it over, and then you're just going to go around the loom and knit off the E-wrap. Okay, so I'll just put you on pause and we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that that's done, what you're going to do is you're going to go by 2s all the way around the loom, and every second peg is going to go on the first peg, the yarn. So you're going to take it off and you're just going to move it over to the peg before it. So just taking it off and moving it to the peg before it. And you're just going to go all the way around the loom. So you'll have 2 loops on peg 1, nothing, 2 loops on peg 2, nothing, or two loops over here. And you're just going to keep doing that so that every second peg will be blank and every second peg will have the 2 loops on it. Okay? So if you are on a uneven loom, you won't have an even amount of pegs, so you just don't bother doing the last one. Doesn't really matter. And because I kept this nice and loose, it's quite easy for me to move these over. Just awkward because the angle I have it, but okay, so I'm going to put you on pause, and as you see how this is looking, and we're just going to meet up when we have that done. Okay, now that you have that all done, all you're going to do is go around the loom and knit the bottom one over the top, like that. And that reduces the bulk so that your cast off and back of your hat will lay a lot flatter. And more, and then the one more, and there we are, and there's the working yarn coming out of this one. And then all we're going to do is, with the working yarn, go around the loom 1.5 times and just cut your yarn. Now you can either use your loom hook or a needle, and we're just going to go up and scoop up the loops so we can do a drawstring bind off. And I usually use a needle, but if you were going to use your loom hook, which is easy to do with this method, you just take the yarn and pull it through like that. And if you have a needle, you just put the needle on and you're going to pick it up the same way. I usually use a needle. This is so much easier though when you're doing it sometimes. On a bigger loom, I'd for sure want a needle. Okay, so I'm just going to put you on pause and we'll pick it all up and I'll see you at the beginning. Okay, now when we get all the way around, we make sure we pick up the very first stitch that we had already picked up. You want to make sure that every peg is on here. Now all you have to do is take all the pegs off the loom. You just go around and you just flip them off. I'm just holding on to the drawstring here because I want to make sure that it doesn't come off. And we just take them all off. And you can even do it with your fingers. And there we go. All off the loom. We can just put the loom to the side. We don't need it anymore. And then you're going to take the working yarn and you're just going to drawstring the brim closed. Okay, you're just going to make sure that it's all like that. And then when you get it about halfway, you're just going to take the working yarn and put it through the hat and flip it this way because we're going to finish it on the wrong side. And we just bind it up, and as you see here, it's going to be not as bulky as it would have been. We've thinned that out. Okay, and now this is when we do need a needle. So I'm just going to get a needle. I have a needle in this handy dandy little thing. And also you can cut the working yarn a lot shorter. You just need to sew that close. So I'm going to cut it to about there and put the needle through the yarn, or the yarn through the needle. Okay, there we go. So that's threaded, and we're just going to sew this closed. So what I do is, now that I've bound it up, is I kind of pinch it so I can see where that edge was, and then I make sure it's pulled nice and tight. There's the hole in the middle, so I just want to pinch it so I'm at that hole in the middle. And then I just take the needle and I just sort of sew around in a circle around that hole, just picking up some loops. Okay, and then I'm going to actually do a knot. My loom wants, or my yarn wants to be all weird. Go, and I'm going to do another knot. Just want to make sure that this doesn't come apart. I'm just going to go to the other side. And make another knot. And then you can sew the working yarn in if you'd like. I just actually, because it's not going to be reversible, I just cut it and leave it. It's not going to hurt anything. Doesn't bother me. And the other side of your hat looks like this. It's a lot thinner, but we'll take it. And we'll stretch our stitches, because that's what you always do when you make a hat, is you stretch your stitches. You pull it every way and make sure it's all stretched out. And then there's your hat. It's looking really nice. The top is flattened a lot better, your beanie hat, than it would have been. And there you go. You have a beautiful beanie hat. Okay, so here's Drifter hat all done. There's the flattened brim. And then, of course, you're going to stretch your hat and everything. And I'll hold it really so you can see the stitch real clear. There it is. See, it's a beautiful stitch. Got lots of texture. I'll hold it so you can see it from the side, the texture. There it is, see? That would be better if I stretch it with my hands. There you go. I'll stretch it like this. There. I can see it. But yeah, there you go. You really can see the texture. Yeah, it's a really, really beautiful stitch. So I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, bye.